Messi, Neymar and Ronaldo are all playing in this tournament. We've had a Messi moment. Could say we've had a Ronaldo moment. We haven't seen a Neymar moment yet, but he's blown up his ankle. So we've seen some element of a moment. We've got some headlines. But there is a bit of a change in the guard. There's new stars. We've seen Mbappe. We've seen Pedri, who Jody's a massive fan of. We've got Cody Gakpo and others as well. Your boy Kudos is doing very well.
Very well.
Looking at this tournament, do you think this is now the last time we see these three and there's a new three coming?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a change in the guard. And I think World Cups kind of define eras. After the '06 World Cup, where you saw those individuals that were brilliant for years in terms of Zidane and Ronaldinho and R9, and after that, football moved on to a different era of the Ronaldo-Messi era. I think it's a similar World Cup. This is the last World Cup we'll see Messi play in. I think it's the last World Cup we'll see Ronaldo. And Neymar's already indicated that this is going to be the last World Cup that he plays. And then when you've got this influx of talent coming through, none least than Kylian Mbappé, who in my opinion is the best player in the world right now, this is definitely a change in regard, and probably the last opportunity that we'll get to see these players, Messi, Ronaldo, challenge for the highest honour in football, which is the World Cup. So a little bit sad. It's a tinge of sadness. I feel like the last 10 years has been defined by these superstars. It's been Messi, it's been Ronaldo, and Neymar a distant third, but I do think he's been the third best player of this era. And so to see these guys coming to the end of the career, it makes you feel old. It makes you feel really old. I remember Ronaldo bursting onto the scene. I remember his first World Cup being in 2006. And the fact that this is probably going to be his last World Cup, it's sad. And hopefully one of those key players in terms of Messi, Ronaldo or Neymar could end this tournament by winning it and really secure their legacy.
Is there any of those three so far that have stood out for you? Obviously Ronaldo scored a penalty. Messi scored that incredible goal. And then obviously Neymar, four successful dribbles in the only game he's played so far, but now he's injured. Any of those like you go, yeah, he was... No?
Not really, and no one's a bigger Messi fan than me. I think he's the greatest of all time, and not just as well. I think he's quite clearly the greatest of all time. But I do think when you're talking about Ronaldo, and I thought Ronaldo was poor in the first game, when you're talking about Ronaldo and Messi, they clearly are at the kind of the physical end. Even though Ronaldo obviously still looks $1 million, you can see that he's not the same from a physical aspect. Has the games lent itself to them being able to shine? Maybe not. Obviously, Messi did the one bit of magic that obviously sets Argentina on their way. I hope that if England are not the team to win it, I want Argentina to win just purely from a Lionel Messi aspect. I'm a little bit disappointed that Neymar's seems like he's going to be knocking it on the head, because he's quite a way younger than the other two. Obviously Ronaldo being the oldest, and I still think he's got enough to offer in another couple of tournaments for Brazil. I'm a little bit disappointed with that, and also just because some of the silly fans throughout the world that try and question Neymar. I mean, I do think that he gets a bit of a raw deal at times. What he's done in football, I think, for the last 10 years or so has been outstanding, albeit he hasn't managed to perform his best in these big tournaments.
You do fear that it's going to be a tournament for him to forget a little bit. If this injury continues to the end of the group stages, it was actually 4 unsuccessful dribbles, by the way. I saw Joey looking at it wasn't 4 successful. It was definitely 4 unsuccessful. I think with the Ronaldo game, with the Ronaldo performance, I sort of sat there and thought, this is a striker on the end of his time. Messi as well, a little bit. I've not been overly convinced, but because of the sheer quality he's got and how much the team wants it to land at his feet, he might get away with it. And then Neymar's injury. But there's players on here we haven't mentioned. Luis Suarez, we were just speaking about off air. This is definitely his last tournament. Thomas Muller, another one. There's a whole list of players essentially calling it a day at the end of this one. Looking forward, though, there's also a whole list of players ready to take over. Who's the one that stands out to you?
It's got to be Kylian Mbappe. I just think he's primed to take over. And it's a shame because everyone's trying to draw the comparisons between Messi, Ronaldo and Mbappe and Haaland's not here. I think Norway will be a force in tournaments to come, because you look at the young players coming through, they are developing some major talents over there. But I think if you just look at the field right now, Kylian Mbappe, I've already said it, is the best player in the world in my opinion right now. He's got the physical gifts. He's at his physical prime. I know people talk about footballers' primes maybe being in the late 20s, but I think how explosive these guys are. Mbappe right now is at his physical prime, and he's got a bit of everybody in him. Got a bit of R9, he's got a bit of Thierry Henry. Obviously, Ronaldo was his icon, his idol growing up. He's got a bit of Ronaldo in him in terms of the arrogance and the willingness to get in the box and score goals. I think he's got everything, and he's got a great France team around him as well. I think it's going to be hard to look past him in terms of the next 10 years of football, in terms of the best player in the world.
I agree. I think where he's at, being 23, coming up to 24 years of age, I think he's already there when you're talking about top players in the world. And I still think there's a little bit more to come. I think the minute he maybe leaves PSG and then we get to see him in maybe like a Real Madrid or another top team around Europe, I think we'll see even more from him. And even the fact that when he does leave PSG, there will be no Neymar and no Messi as well, because he clearly is a confident boy, and I do believe he is one of those that can hurt you in so many different aspects of his game, whether it be one-touch finishes, whether it be running in behind, the ability to go at people in 1v1 situations, and the fact that he's been doing it from such a young age. I think there's certain records, especially in France and the French national team record, I think they're going to go clearly from this lad. But looking forward, slightly younger than him, my two favourites at the moment are Pedri and Jamal Messiah at Bayern. I think they're playing for two of the European greats, and they're already like real pivotal players in their team at like 19 and 20 years of age. And I think that we've seen in this tournament already that they're ready to perform on the world stage.
Pedri, I mean, I've got a lovely few stats here, and I take no praise for this as the producers. 92 touches against Costa Rica, completed 86 passes with a success rate of 97%, and registered 3 key passes. I think when I watch this player, I go, Xavi and Iniesta, two individually great players. We spoke about this off air. He's got a blend of both, while he's also got this attribute that sort of the new era of fans like, that he's got a bit of sort of this rogueness to his game. It's not so defined, it's not so pure. He does things where he sort of like drops the shoulder, drops two players and comes back on them. That little bit of arrogance that I think Xavi and Iniesta were very well behaved, lovely lads, play the game how it's meant to be played. Pedri's like, I'm kind of a little bit of the new mould. I'm lovely, but I also have all the other attributes as well. And at 20 years of age, dominating that Spain midfield, if he wins the World Cup at that age, you can only see this guy going that direction.
We're going to have a similar effect to when Mbappé won the World Cup at such a young age as well. He just went from there. If you've got that trophy in your cabinet already as a teenager, then it's the sky's the limit for you. And the stats you read out there for Pedri is similar to Jude Bellingham's stats in England's first game against Iran. And he's another player that, if he continues to develop at the right rate, and it's almost political as well in football. It's about picking the right moves. And I think we saw Ronaldo do that at the right time when he went to Real Madrid, at the right time, kind of saved his leg going to Spain and not having the rigours of Premier League football. And for these young players as well, it's about being coached by the right managers, and it's about being in the right league that suits their style of play. And I think Bellingham's in the right spot right now. It remains to be seen. There's a lot of calls for him to come to the Premier League, and we know about how difficult it is for some players to settle in. We saw what Jadon Sancho looked like. If we had this conversation maybe 3 years ago, we're all saying Jadon Sancho is going to be one of these guys, but he just hasn't developed at the rate we expect. So I think Jude Bellingham's a player to look out for, but it's whether he takes the right step in terms of his development to become one of the best players in the world.
It wouldn't surprise me if you see Bellingham go to Spain. I mean, we tried to sign Bellingham when we was at Chelsea and spent a day with him and his parents, and what a down-to-earth lad. He was 16, 17 at the time, and you could see he's got a great head on his shoulders. I think he's displayed that already in Germany, the fact that he's been given the captain's armband at such a young age. I actually wouldn't mind seeing him to go to Spain. And I know that might sound weird for a lot of people, considering obviously we view our league as the best in the world, but I wouldn't mind seeing Bellingham go to one of the big two in Spain and just, again, show that we've got our sort of talent from this country that can go and perform, because I think he's good enough to get in both teams, to be honest, in Real Madrid and Barcelona, and he doesn't have to rush back to the Premier League. He doesn't have to. He's going to have plenty of opportunity to sign for whoever he wants. I mean, there was 4 years ago, there was 3-4 years ago, there was every team in Europe after him. I think it's fair to say that the same teams will be after him now, but there'll just be a few more noughts on the end of the on the end of the fee.
When you sat with him and his family, what stood out for you? Because there's a lot of talks about, a lot of people mention that at his age, he speaks so well, and it's almost as if he understands that his next move is as important as what Quaker just said there.
Well, that was it. I mean, the fact that we was taking him around the training ground and any questions that were being asked were from him, and it was about football. And the fact that someone so young, and obviously he has some real good parents behind him that are not just thinking, okay, what's the most lucrative move we can make, the best for his footballing education, and it was important for him that he was gonna play somewhere. Would he have got in the Chelsea team at 17? I don't think so. So the fact that he made that decision purely based on football, as I said, the maturity for someone at such a young, and this is years ago, by the way. This is 4 years ago. So I think we've all seen that he's one for the future. Well, he's here now, and I think that he's performing at certain levels that would find him getting to most teams now. But you know that the sky's the limit, because I think he's only going to go from strength to strength.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.